Well, hey, everybody, welcome back to the Fixate and Binge Podcast. I haven't made a lot of fanfare about it. I haven't even mentioned that it was upcoming, but I wanted to put something out there for this episode if you're just tuning in and say today, this episode marks the 4-year anniversary of this podcast. So we've had over 200 episodes. I've written over 350 film reviews. We've had over 100 guests. We have been listened to, I think, in 6 of the 7 continents around the world. I've got listeners in far-flung places like Southeast Asia and Australia and the South Pacific and Eastern Europe, to name some of the more remote places where this podcast has reached some of you. And I'm so grateful that each of you are here now. I'm very excited about this episode because I have a very special guest who I recorded my interview with her earlier in the week, and I can't wait to introduce you to her and her wonderful film that she wrote and directed and filmed entirely in Portugal's Azores Islands. So this is a very exotic, sexy, funny, kind of sad in some parts, but very philosophical film, which I think you're going to really, really love. And I'll get to that in just a quick second. Right away, this weekend is a weird weekend. Our president celebrates his 80th birthday today. Our nation is going to celebrate its 250th birthday. I'm not going to talk about how things in Washington, D.C. have descended to levels of Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. I don't want to talk about that. I do want to talk instead and focus on 2 things that I watched this weekend, which were fantastic. And I haven't written reviews about them yet, but I definitely will be soon. And that is a film that I rented with my daughters, and it was very adjacent, very similar to Vivarium, to Backrooms, that type of Twilight Zone-esque, endless loop, questioning reality type genre films. If that's a niche genre, I'm not sure if it is. But the film is from Japan. It's called Exit 8. You can rent it on Amazon Prime right now. It was only $5.99, which is really good value for a relatively brand new film. The film is not dubbed in English, but you don't need it to be because it's not a very dialogue heavy film at all. There's not long expositions of Japanese dialogue that you have to slog through and stare and read as the film goes on. I don't mind doing that. I generally put on subtitles even when it's English language, mostly because I have a lot of ambient things going on around me. I've got a dog, I've got a family. There's a whole world existing inside my house when I'm trying to watch things. And I don't live in Xanadu. I don't live in Kubla Khan. I don't live in a giant fortress like Bill Gates or an Elon Musk. I don't live in one of these, estates where I can have my own private theater. I'd love to. That would be really nice to have my own little private theater. But no, I'm going to settle for what I can do. And what I can do is listen and watch films in the comfort of my own home. And if my kids are a little loud, it is what it is. That's what the subtitles are for me. So anyway, I enjoy doing that. And so I don't have a problem with subtitles. But Exit 8 is fantastic film work. It is fantastic in its concept and its execution. It is clever. I've read some people say that they preferred it to Backrooms in terms of its understandability. But it's definitely up there with one of those, you're kind of stuck in this simulacrum of reality, a sort of purgatory that's just an endless loop. It was really clever. I think you're going to enjoy it. If I said anything more about it, I'd probably just give it away. And I definitely don't want to do that. So I think you're going to very, very much enjoy this. Now, the other film that I watched with my wife last night, and it came out last weekend. I didn't get a chance to see it. We were busy. We had things going on. But the film was Masters of the Universe. And I got to tell you, I went in with almost zero expectations. In fact, it isn't blowing up at the box office. It's not a runaway hit. And I kind of feel that that's usually Jared Leto's fault. Anything Jared Leto touches, it's like the kiss of death. And so I went into this film thinking, I don't know why people keep giving Jared Leto films to be in, especially respected intellectual properties like whether it's Blade Runner or Tron or Spider-Man, Mobius, whatever it may be. I don't understand how this guy continues to get work. He's also kind of a creep in his real life. But anyway, I went in with almost no expectations. My wife and I were children of the 80s. I'm actually from the early 70s. My wife's from the late 70s. But we grew up with He-Man and She-Ra and all these cartoons and Thundercats and G.I. Joe and things like that. But we remember that these were after-school staples. You'd come home from school, you'd get your Capri Sun, you'd get a bag of chips, and you'd turn on He-Man or She-Ra or whatever was on, or Scooby-Doo, I'm not sure. And I really enjoyed the He-Man cartoons and the outrageously effective but overly muscular figurines and the toys that came along with it. I once babysat a kid in the 80s for some much needed pocket money. And he had like every He-Man character you could think of, every single one. He had the names memorized. Oh, this one's Trapjaw, and this one's this, and this one's Ram Man, and this one's Mechaneck, and this one's. And he had all the names memorized, right? He was I wonder where that kid is today. He's clearly in his 40s. I wonder if he's watching Masters of the Universe with his kids, with the same wide-eyed wonder that I kind of had. But anyway, my wife and I went and watched this thing, and I got to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised. I was glad that I enjoyed it. Number one, Jared Leto doesn't ruin it. Thankfully, he's buried under so much prosthesis as Skeletor. There's no sense of Jared Leto even in the costume. It's a little bit like trying to get a sense of Pedro Pascal in every frame of The Mandalorian, when you know that he's got a stunt double that's doing most of the actual movement, and he does the occasional close-ups and the helmet coming off. But with Skeletor, it was like Jared Leto actually did a pretty good job. He understood the assignment, and that was to find moments where you didn't have to take yourself too seriously. The film itself did not take itself too seriously. It was almost a comedy adventure. Almost a farce comedy adventure. There were some genuine funny moments. They did some great Easter egg callbacks to fans of the original cartoon and even the toys themselves. And I really thought that was the best way to do it. If they had tried to do it straight, like they did with the Dolph Lundgren one back in the 80s, where he was, He-Man, and it was. They tried to play it straight. They tried to play it for what it was, and it was a bit of a mixed bag. The only thing I can remember about the original Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren is that my wife said it was the last film she had ever watched as a kid at the drive-in movies, which I thought was kind of wild. You always remember your last one, right? Anyway, that was her last one. But the film is great. It's funny. I hope they make a sequel. I think it's a shame it didn't make a lot of money. Mostly, I think, because nobody really asked for this film. There wasn't a lot of build-up to, hey, by popular demand, we're going to bring you Mattel's He-Man, Masters of the Universe. So there wasn't an enormous demand for this film. And the thinking is that, chances are you're probably going to botch it and get it wrong and upset a bunch of Gen Xers. And I'm here to say they got it right. There were adults my age in the cinema with their kids, and we were all laughing throughout it. And this was the second weekend it came out, and it was still doing pretty good in terms of the numbers of the cinema I went to. So I really enjoyed it. Masters of the Universe, it's corny, it's fun. Idris Elba is perfectly cast as Man-at-Arms. I can't remember the name of the actor that's playing He-Man, Prince Alex or whatever, Adam, that's right, Prince Adam, I can't remember. But James Purefoy is in this. Alison Brie plays a wonderful Evil Lynn. There's just a lot going on. The casting is one of the great strengths of the film, and I enjoyed it. My wife and I were surprised. We really had a good time. I'd like to see a sequel. They tease a sequel. I'd like to see one. Time will tell. It really has to have a good word of mouth. And maybe that's the purpose of a podcast like this, is to put a good word of mouth out there so that when it gets released inevitably on digital, it'll increase its influence, it will increase awareness, and maybe you will be back for another one. I am not sure how expensive the budget was for this. Most of the background scenes, most of the planet of Eternia seem to have been achieved by green screen. Not a lot in terms of practical sets throughout that movie. So maybe they were able to keep costs down for that point. So we'll see. Now, the other thing, I said I only saw 2 things this weekend, but during the regular week, I actually saw one other thing, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. I like martial arts films. I don't love them to the sense that I see every single one that comes out. I'm more of a connoisseur. I kind of sit back and I'm very careful about what martial arts films I watch. I'm not interested to take in everything, because there's a lot of crap that gets thrown against the wall hoping it will stick with international audiences, and a lot of it fails. And there's some real gems out there that never get discovered. But there was a film that came out. It opened in cinemas also this week, and it's called The Furious. And I wrote a very glowing review of this on my Letterboxd. I'll spare you reading it. But this thing was brutal with a capital B. It was bone-crushingly brutal. It was wonderful. It was an orgy of violence in all the right ways. And if loving brutal, graphic, martial arts, hand-to-hand combat films like this is wrong, then I don't want to be right. This thing was right up there with the Raid movies by Gareth Evans. It combined Japanese, Chinese, Korean disciplines of martial arts, and even Indonesian influences. It did such a great job for me. My son and I watched it, and I think we might have had to go to a plastic surgeon to remove the smiles off our faces. I grinned that entire film. My face was almost stuck like reverse Bell's palsy. I almost had like a rictus smile, like the Joker. I just, don't ask me how I got these scars. It was fantastic. So the best way to enjoy this, I think, is right on the big screen. It's out now. It's in the cinema. Don't sit on this. If you've been waiting, if you've been waiting for a film that kind of follows the brutal traditions of Ong Bak or the Raid films, The Furious absolutely gets it right. The fight choreography is insane. So it's very it's beautiful. It's beautiful and brutal, and it makes some decisions and choices in the story that surprised me a little bit in a good way. It's not exactly a formulaic martial arts revenge movie. It's very interesting, and in some cases, completely unique. So I liked it for that too, because it subverted a lot of my expectations. I'm telling you, if you like hand-to-hand combat kung fu films, and I'm not talking about Jason Statham films where they cut a whole bunch of footage together and splice it and make it look like he's kicking total ass. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about actual masters, Chinese wushu, judo, pencat silat from Indonesia, or whatever, or kung fu, just basic. I mean, we're talking people with multiple degrees in these disciplines putting on the screen what they have, and it's just fantastic. So don't sit on The Furious. It's very good. That's the best film I saw this week. Masters of the Universe, close second. Exit 8, close third. All 3 great films. So you can screen or you can video on demand Exit 8, and it's not that expensive. For a new release, it's not that expensive. You can catch Masters of the Universe in the cinema now. I'm sure it'll be disappearing in a couple weeks. And you definitely can catch The Furious. It just opened. So don't miss these wonderful films. Anyway, the other great news, and I'll get to my guest. I'm so sorry. I'll get to my guest. The other great news is my favorite TV show so far of the year is Apple TV's Widow's Bay. There's only 1 episode left. So the finale is this week. So by the time you're listening to this, I'm probably watching it. They just announced season 2. And that's such a sigh of relief because I thought this was going to be a one and done short series, much like Midnight Mass. And I still would have been happy that we got such a perfect one and done series like Midnight Mass or The House on Haunted Hill or whatever it is. But the fact that they're going to bring it back for a second season means I can take a bit of a deep breath that everything isn't going to be completely resolved in the finale for season one this week. So anyway, if you're looking for great things to watch, you've come to the right podcast. I've got recommendations. I stand by my opinions. But if I've judged it wrong, if I've got it wrong, then it is what it is, and let me know. But I don't spend my time trashing on things. Life is too short to intentionally watch things I think I'm going to not like. I have been surprised before by things I didn't think I'd like, and then ended up falling in love with. So anyway, I like to focus on positive. And speaking of positive things, my guest is Lilian T. Mehrel. She is a writer and director. This is her feature film debut. She made a film called HONEYJOON. HONEYJOON is so amazing. It was filmed in São Miguel, Azores Islands, in the Azores Islands, or São Miguel Island in the Azores in Portugal. So North Atlantic or the Atlantic Ocean. My geography sucks. This isn't a geography class, but it is sumptuous. It is sexy. It is exotic. It is funny. It is healing, and it's inspiring. And I'm going to just jump right into my interview with Lilian. This is where we started talking about her film. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this. Again, her film is HONEYJOON, and you can see it now in select cinemas in select cities around the country, but definitely look for it when it's available for video on demand if you're not able to catch it. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, writer and director Lilian T. Mehrel.
Thank you. I feel like you already know me after reading what you wrote. I'm just like, it was so beautiful.
I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Your film was just so earnest and authentic and powerful, and it ticked a lot of boxes for me. That some reviews are like pulling blood from stone, and then some reviews just flow. And I think it flows because it speaks to the strength of the film itself.
Oh,
You did fantastic.
thank you. Honestly, what you saw into the philosophy of the film and me, you put words to things I actually haven't put words to, and it gave me a lot of peace actually to read it. It
Oh,
gave it brought me peace and it brought me a sense of feeling it made me so happy that maybe other people will feel lifted by that or acknowledged because it's not like kind of painting a rainbow on everything. It kind of it like it's both acknowledging the light and the dark, and it just made me feel because sometimes you think, I go to a lot of the screenings and a lot of
yeah.
Q&As, and sometimes you think like, oh, it needs to be a packed audience and I need to be there, and then that's how they'll get the perfect experience of the film. But you got the beautiful experience of the film.
I did, and I think that's an interesting juxtaposition with having a big communal, packed audience experience. But I watched this alone. I mean, my wife was tired, and I'm like, okay, no, don't worry about it. I'll screen it alone. So I put the headphones on, these very headphones, and I just immersed myself into your film, and it was so personable. It was like having a good friend, a reassuring friend with idiosyncratic ups and downs, and an imperfect friend, flaws and all. But it was just so refreshing to see such an interesting take on how we can juggle grief. And then you found so many wonderful but appropriate uses of comedy in your film. It was awesome. I just loved it.
So much. That makes me so happy. It's funny you use the word appropriate because some people will call them highly inappropriate moments.
That's when I think comedy is really it's about pushing the boundaries a little bit about what might be I mean, I a lot of people found the drunken porter who did the knock knock joke in Macbeth inappropriate after the murder of the king, and it's like if Shakespeare was willing to take the risk, I think we're ready. We can handle it.
I love that you say that. I do think comedy is a risk, and like actually the audience has taught me that I can go there because they go there with me. Very
Yeah.
like dark dark jokes and bold moments, and they're laughing. And I'm talking like audiences in the middle of nowhere of the country, and in this part and that part. Like it excited me. Like what also it shows me how much people pick up on all the layers. Like there are many layers and people reflect them back to me.
Yeah, that's so brilliant. I saw a film with lived-in characters. I heard dialogue that didn't feel one-dimensional, and the actors that inhabited these characters, Lilian and June and Zhao, they
Hey
felt.
Lillian, that's me, Leela.
Oh, so that's you. So this
No,
is.
no, I'm saying you
Oh,
said my name.
you're Lillian and Leela, and I got Lillian and Leela mixed up. I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
yes, no worries. But that's kind of funny because people always think I'm June, so this is the
Okay.
first time someone put me
Okay,
in.
sorry. Yeah. No, I do know. I don't think you're a middle-aged lady with a 30-year-old daughter. It was just so clever and put together, and I on an aesthetic level, I just appreciated seeing San Miguel Island. I've never been to the Azores, but now I want to go. I just don't know if I want to book a hotel with a bunch of other newlyweds. But it was I mean, I lived in Hawaii. I lived around surf culture. I lived around that kind of philosophy of ride the wave. They come, they go. There are big waves, there are small waves. Sometimes you're going to wipe out, but that is life. And it's such a metaphor. And the philosophy of your film is take the waves you're given and ride the hell out of them. They're not here forever. I love that.
Thank you. Honestly, that's what I feel like I'm bringing as a person in my life right now. Like as a filmmaker, like the fact that for the first time, I think ever in my life, when I wrote this script, the script poured out of me in a very short amount of time. And when I finished, I said out loud, I'm going to make this movie. I didn't know how, I don't know, it just felt like it needed to happen. And then that boldness to be like, to go after it, to do it, to see your vision through, to do the kind of my thing as a director is this like holy trifecta of dark comedy, layered emotion, and stunning cinema. And it's like to show someone that those can go together and that that's my voice. All of that, and to be bold and put it out there, it's like saying, I'm gonna ride this wave. I'm alive. I know because of the loss I've been through that, you know, this is my life to live. And I want to live it double. I want to live it extra for him. I want to live it extra for me. And it's like, all right, like let's go. Let's make a movie and let's show this movie all over and let's go to theaters. So that's the ride I'm on and trying to soak in every moment of it. And it has been, I think I say sometimes I think I made this movie in a way I was grappling with the question after you lose someone you love,
Right.
can life ever be beautiful again? Like you said, can you ever enjoy it? And somehow, by the risk and process of making this movie and sharing it, I have found so much joy. I have found so many moments of unexpected connection with audiences, with critics, with
Yeah.
reviewers, so many glimmers of light in the dark, like, the visuals of the ocean. And it's like, I I really feel that like I'm not trying to tell anybody that there's a right way to grieve. I almost just want to hold space for everyone and be like, whether you're June or Leela, wherever you're at in the spectrum of light to dark, like it's all human. We're all in it together. And like I hope that by experiencing those waves of laughter and emotion together with me watching the movie, people will feel seen and they will feel good to be alive, with all that it holds.
Well, that encapsulates the film. It really does embrace joie de vivre. It really goes there. And what I like, I know we're going to beat this metaphor of the waves to death,
No,
but
let's do it.
but I mean, it doesn't look like it, but many, many, many years ago, I used to surf. That's one of the reasons I moved to Hawaii. And sometimes we will miss good waves in anticipation that a bigger or better wave is coming. And maybe the bigger and better wave is too overwhelming, and we're not ready for it. But there's peaks and valleys when it comes to surfing. There's ups, there's downs, there's wipeouts, and it's all just an experience. And I really enjoyed that the film didn't wallow in misery. I mean, even though the sun wasn't shining and the wind was blowing and it was overcast, and I suspect there was a lot of rain off and on for the shoot. Um, it didn't wallow in misery. It provided oxygen, a little bit of levity to breathe a little bit. Life can be very funny, even in its most miserable moments. And the best example I can think of that is Life is Beautiful, which is an extreme example of trying to find levity, humor, which is healing in the darkest of places. And that's an extreme example, of course, but your film, it's like a balm. It's very healing because for those of us, and I know this came from somewhere personal for you, it had to because everything felt so authentic. But for those of us who have experienced loss, this is exactly the therapy we needed. This was a very life-affirming film about how to handle grief.
Oh my God. I'm really moved. That my biggest hope actually was to be a life affirming film. To hear you say that I want people to feel lit up and connected and alive. And it's like, you know, there are dark moments in the film, but I do always want to break the tension. I really love as a director, like playing with that line where we like pull something out and then like cut it with a laugh or give you that moment of catharsis. Like I live for those moments. Like I'm like excitedly like playing with it and waiting, like, just drawing it out. And like I think there's so many moments in the film that like when I experienced with audiences, it taught me how much the audiences love those moments too. Like I realized the sexting scene, it kills in every audience I ever go to. And I realized it's also because of the heaviness that preceded it.
Yeah,
We were for a little while, we were with them in a moment with Joao and the long goodbye, and we were there. And, right before we see the sexting, we see a shot of Leela alone in bed because June isn't in the room. And we can
right.
just, for a moment, just picture that's her life now, that absence. And like we're all there and we're in those feelings. And then we get the relief and the release of comedy. And thank God for comedy. Like it's just I personally I think that like nothing makes me happier than hearing the audience laugh.
Yeah,
It's like but even though, that's even if an audience is quieter, it doesn't mean that they didn't love it. Like people are grappling with all kinds of deeper emotions, and sometimes someone will come up to me and tell me about how they cried throughout the movie.
yeah.
And then other people will laugh at the same moments that someone else is crying. Like it's all different body reactions of light and dark to the same stuff. But yeah, I'm so happy that you, a surfer's soul, saw that this movie is really about surfing the light and dark waves of life. And also, like, why can't a grief movie be flirty and sexy and funny? And like, because grief is also like a movie about
Sure.
grief, it's a movie about life.
That's very true. And a lot of people, when they're going through grief, they're very lonely. It's very common for people to want to feel embraced and hugged and needed and wanted and sexually desired. I mean, those are, I can't tell stories because I'm married and my wife will karate kick me in the face. But
Yeah, no.
I remember losing a parent. And I got to tell you, just having my wife's companionship there through that was very healing for me, very, very appropriate, very necessary, very needed. And so I understood it. I understood that these things can walk hand in hand together through these
Well,
experiences.
I think also, I'm so sorry you've been through that, and I'm grateful you had your wife by your side.
Yeah,
But I think that these things, sometimes it's like, I think for June, she just wants what's the opposite of death? Like what will make her feel alive? Like
right.
what's the well, maybe like sensuality is the opposite of death, or like, and I think the funny thing to me is at some point I realized like she's trying to feel good and she's searching for all these things to feel good. But you know how you can feel good after a good cry?
Yeah.
Different kind of good. And like I think that that was for me like part of her journey was finding that fullness and that different kind of good, you know?
That's very interesting. Another aspect of the film that I really connected with because it's happening with my wife and her father. My wife lost her mother suddenly to brain cancer. It was very rapid, and there wasn't much time for a goodbye. But it was really strange because my mother-in-law's relationship in the family sounds an awful lot like June's father's relationship in that family. They were like the glue that held everyone together. And in my mother-in-law's absence, my wife is now having to try and rediscover what relationship do I have with my father. And there's a lot of disagreements and a generational difference and cultural differences. And so when I'm watching that, I'm like, I'm watching your film. I'm like, this is exactly what my wife is currently going through, trying trying to kind of assert or recognize what her relationship with her father is, because frankly, it had been put on the back burner because her relationship with her mom was so tight, and then she lost her mom, and that seems to be what's going on with June trying to relate to her mother, because their relationship obviously has to change. Do they need each other? Such a great question, I think, is do they need each other? What do they expect from each other's relationship now that the father and husband is gone?
I think that's an incredible question because, people describe it as like you have a three-legged stool and one leg goes. Now you have to rebalance the whole thing. Like it doesn't
Right,
work the same way as it used to. And I think there's this element, I keep thinking about the word perspective. When and you know what it's like when you live with loss, your perspective changes. The
right,
way you see the preciousness of life, the way you see people knowing that your time together is limited. Like all of that changes you. And sometimes all that darkness of that dark perspective makes the light shine even brighter. And I think there's an element by the end of the film of just like they want to they know they have each other and they want to enjoy being together. The same way June's like, can't we just enjoy being alive? It's like, let's enjoy being together in this moment that we have. And and I think like I really felt that, well, I don't want to spoil the whole film.
sure,
In the last shots of them of the film, where there's a
right.
simplicity of what they're doing is very simple, but it's just being. And so I think what you speak of, it reminds me also of the ways that, and this is really beautiful, how everybody, all the audiences can find something to connect to, usually on a very deep level, whether it's the experience you're going through, with your wife and her family,
Yeah,
or something you went through in your own past, or even if it's just, a different kind of loss and grappling with like feeling that life isn't sweet again and trying to find the sweetness in it and trying to find wholeness in all your feelings. And, you know, people surprised me actually in how much that they connect to this movie. And I thought I knew all the layers I put in there, but people will reflect back to me, especially sometimes people will come see it multiple times and they'll be like, on the second time I saw this, like someone told me something recently that I'd never put it into words that way. She said, after the procession of the townspeople,
right,
later when we see the women and the mothers and daughters in that town sweeping up the flowers that were on the ground at the procession, she said to her, that moment felt like a symbol that life keeps going. Like even after the procession or after someone dies, like you're left afterwards. And it just
right.
shows you like, and I was like, I never thought about it that way before. But yes, yes, it's beautiful. And I love seeing the symbols other people see into it, besides all my yin yang symbols everywhere in light and dark. But like,
Sure.
so, someone else told me at the premiere, like that they saw there were a lot of staircases. And like, what did that mean? I was like, yes, that was meaningful, it was symbolic. Even early on, you see this shot of them walking up that church with like endless stairs.
Yes. Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
that's what it feels like to live with loss. Like you're just going up this comically endless stairway.
Yeah. And there was that great shot, and I think it's in the publicity stills that have been released for the film, where they're at the beach and it's the three of them, and they're
Yeah.
on these different levels and there's staircases to the ocean, and it's that is like visually a metaphor
Yeah.
for the film. When you write from the heart, Lillian, and it clearly you have, you've tapped into something, and I say it a lot, but it's genuine and authentic, and I think anytime someone writes from the heart and expresses something, sincere and purposeful in their lives, you have the power to connect to a greater audience. And that is exactly why I love the writing in this. I love the direction. I love the decisions this film made. But I also really enjoyed the acting as well. When you have a film where everything is firing on all cylinders, then you have a gem of
Thank
of a film. And I wanted to ask, what was it like working with your core cast for this film?
This was one of the things I was most excited about because as a director, before this f first feature, I was making shorts, and a lot of the time I was working with non-actors, and they were
Hmm.
wonderful. But I wondered what it would be like to work with people who are such masters of their craft.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. The casting was very magical. For Aiden, for June, I was looking for someone who can hold humor and emotion. And I was like, where am I going to find her? And she's just a comedic genius, really, who just gets humanity. She's on our side, you
Yeah.
know? She told me when she first read the script, she was like, how did Lillian read my mind? She was like, this is embarrassing, like the things you know and understand about me. And I felt that she just has compassion for us as humans
Hmm.
and a fondness for us, but also laughing at us and our humanness. And that was the exactly what I needed from June. And somebody who, can when she tries to flirt, even though as an actress, she's so beautiful. You're like, how is it possible that
Right.
someone would flirt back with her? But she gives you that feeling as a human. And, have you ever tried and failed to flirt? I know I have. So it's like it puts us, we're all together in it. And she was
Sure.
incredible to work with because she just understood every moment emotionally. And I think for me as a director, I love working with actors. And what I think we really need in our process, it's like everyone has a different preference about rehearsals or things like that. But what I need from my actors and what I think they need from me is to understand the emotional beats. If they understand it, then everything from there is flowing, like you said about writing your pieces.
Sure.
And so that was Aiden. She actually found me. Her agent got the script, sent it to her, and she loved it. And she wrote to me, and she used a code word in her writing to me. She didn't even realize. She said that it felt like a sparkling act of rebellion in the pleasure of life. And the word sparkling, yeah, like she got that it was like the joie de vivre.
Sure.
And the sparkling word was a code because from the beginning, I had this visual in my mind of the ocean with the light sparkling on it because it feels like these glimmers of light in the dark. And I was just like, oh, it's meant to be her. And she was perfect. Then for the mom, for Leela,
Yeah.
I was really like, where am I going to find her? She needs so many specifics and she needs to hold fragility and strength and all this stuff and be from the same place that the character is. And I was watching the movie Call Me by Your Name as a visual inspiration. And Timothy Chalamet's mom in Call Me by Your Name is Amira Kazar, ended up being the mom in Honeyjoon. Like it was
Perfect.
so meant to be. And then for Joao, our surfer tour guide, it really could only be one. There's this Portuguese star, and he is the star of the #1 Netflix show in Portugal that was shot on the same island. And he plays someone from the island. So he like got like to be a tour guide of the island. And he and I so I he was in an Almodovar film at Cannes. He's like a big
Oh,
deal.
wow.
So I wrote him a letter and I just wrote to him why I thought he was incredible and why he had to play this character. And so
Yeah.
we had a Zoom. And on the Zoom we started talking about goodbyes. And that's when it just clicked. We talked about a character whose job it is to say goodbye. We talked about how life is like a new goodbye every day. We talked about a long goodbye. And it was like
Wow.
he's Joao. He's like the sparkly surfer who's deep and philosophical. And it was like perfect. And I think what I love so much when I saw the three actors together for the first time, it came alive. And I was like, they are all so different. And all of them being themselves is what makes the film both funny and real and emotional. It's just them being themselves. And that's in a meta way, it's so sort of like what I try to do as a filmmaker. And it's what I was inspired by other filmmakers. I love creators who are so true to their distinct voice that they make me feel that I can be true to mine. And so that's what I'm trying to do with my work is just be really, really honest and authentic about my directorial voice. And if the way I see life resonates with you, it makes you laugh, it makes you feel something, hallelujah. And if it makes you feel like you can be more yourself in life, perfect. And like, so the fact that they're also different in themselves and that there's unexpected connection and love between them, to me feels like ultimately this is like the inside joke of being human and a love letter to all of us for how human we are. Beautiful, funny, pathetic, amazing humans.
Ladies and gentlemen, that sounds like a mic drop to me. Lillian, that is poetry personified. That is so beautiful. That is fantastic. I can't think of a better way to end a podcast discussion with you than with just that. That is fantastic. Words to live by. You're an exciting talent when it comes to film writing and it comes to screenwriting and making films. And I got to tell you, I'm very excited to see what you do next. I loved this film. Anyone listening to this, you're going to love this film. If anyone has ever lost someone very near and dear to their heart, this film is going to hit you right in the feels. I have nothing else to add here because you've said it so beautifully, Lillian. Is there anything you want to close with, or is there any question I didn't ask that you would like to explore that if you have the time?
I just want to say thank you. This was one of the many gifts of getting to make this film is sharing it with people who resonate with it and everything you shared. And what you said, this film is for anyone who lives with loss. I actually always say that. I say this film is for anyone who lives with loss, for anyone who wants to feel good in their body, and for anyone who has ever tried and failed to flirt. It's for all of us.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and it's coming to theaters June 10th. I can't wait to share it.
That's awesome.
Sounds great.
Lillian, thank you so much. Ricky, thank you for help setting this up. Falco,
No, thank you, Joe.
you guys are fantastic at Falco. I'll interview anyone you guys throw my way. I love meeting creatives and just artists like Lillian here. It's fantastic.
They're lucky to be in. Everyone who you interview is lucky because this was really a beautiful, beautiful experience. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And Lillian, the best of luck to you. I wish nothing but the best going forward. And I'll be looking out to see what you do next for sure.
So much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, and that is the podcast. I'm so glad you guys were here. I'm glad we've enjoyed our time together. I hope that you were able to learn a lot more about Lillian's process and how she's able to write from the heart, how she's able to write her truth, and how much it has resonated with viewers who have experienced and been lucky enough to experience her film. I still consider myself very blessed to be entrusted with screeners for some of these filmmakers because it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And in a more just world, in a better world, I wish these films had much larger visibility. I wish they opened up on so many more screens because these films deserve to be seen. So again, look for HONEYJOON in select cities. If you're listening to this from a major US city like New York or Chicago or maybe Houston or LA or even San Francisco, look for it. Chances are it's either playing now or it will be playing soon. If you're in the flyover states, if you're rural, and I'm rural, by the way, but if you're out in the middle of the sticks, look for it for video on demand. Inevitably, you will be able to stream this probably within a few weeks. So don't miss that too. For my other listeners who have joined this podcast and are regularly back every week, thank you. It means everything to have you guys here. I'd love to meet all of you. I'd love to take a tour around the world and drop in on some of you guys and just shake your hand. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I talk into the ether. I put my words out into the cosmos, the internet ether, as it were. And I assume that what I'm saying is scratching you right where it itches. Well, that might not have been the best way to put it. There's nothing venereal about this. I assume that I'm not rubbing you the right way. That's going to sound wrong. No, what I mean to say is I assume I'm striking a tone, or I strike a. I'm just going to give up the idioms. I can't come up with the right one. My point is that I hope that you like the cut of my jib. I hope that when I sit down and spend 30 to 45 minutes of your day with you, that you like what you hear. I'm always open to suggestions. If you have things that you think I'm sitting on and haven't seen, or if I misjudge something and just haven't given it its fair dues, you can find me on Letterboxd, Fixate and Binge, Letterboxd. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me. So you don't have to call Dog the Bounty Hunter. You can find me. I'm easy to find. Let me know. Give me some feedback. I love to get feedback. Drop a review of the podcast. We've got a perfect 5 out of 5 rating on Apple Podcasts. write a review. Have you been a guest on this podcast? Write me a review. Increase the visibility. Help me recommend me to friends and family, right? So anyway, enough for me. Thank you for being here. I had such a great guest, as you know. Again, her film is HONEYJOON. It is just so damn good. I think you're going to enjoy it immensely on many, many levels. Her name is Lilian T. Mehrel, a wonderful writer and director. Remember that name, because I can't wait to see what she does next. For everyone else out there, look after yourselves. Take good care of yourselves. Surround yourselves with positive, good people who believe in you, and are going to encourage you to do good things, and eliminate negative influences from your life. I hope you're doing that. I hope you recognize the importance of doing that. Life is too short to maintain toxic relationships or friendships with people. So do what's right. Consider those things a cancer. And you get to decide whether it's benign or if it's, malignant. You get to decide how long you're gonna tolerate it. Don't wait until it becomes malignant, until it ruins everything in your life. If you need to surround yourself with better people, have the courage to do that now. If you need to change your relationships with people or set some boundaries, set those boundaries, and don't apologize. Set those boundaries. You got to look after yourself. Anyway, enough out of me. I don't want to turn this into a self-help type of podcast, even though sometimes it smacks of that, doesn't it? Anyway, enough out of me. I'll see you guys next week. I've got great topics. I've got great guests coming. Trust me, the best is yet to come. 4 years we've been doing this podcast. 4 years. Half of that time has been just me, but I love doing it, and I'm glad you're here, and I hope you come back next week. Take care. Bye-bye.